Gango, welcome to the very first video for Man Blue FC, for the Man Blue FC channel. With this being the first video, I feel like there's a lot of stuff we need to cover, such as an introduction. My name is Nande, for anybody interested. This is a football channel. We'll be covering Premier League stuff mostly. And I don't know, I feel like I just kind of want to skip the formalities and just jump right into the business. I think that's going to offset a lot of the awkwardness I feel right now. And besides, because I'm doing all of this off the cuff, I don't really if I did have anything planned or if I did have anything to say, it's kind of not on the top of my head right now. And I'm guessing it's all going to be clear, the farther along we go in the video. So, without any further ado, if there is anything I think about, I'm pretty sure I'm going to bring it up. But, just to get started, we'll start with the latest kind of transfer news that's going on today. This being Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. So, I'm in the Transfer News Live Twitter page right now. And I want to go through all these tweets in real time and just kind of comment on, how I feel about it. I'm a Manchester City fan, but, obviously I'm not opposed to discussing other football clubs. This is a Manchester United and Barcelona video. Very ironic for a Man City channel first video, but anyway, we move. So about 2 hours ago, Transfer News Live is quoted as saying Marcus Rashford has already said yes to Barcelona back in January. He'll join them on loan with an option to buy. I think I started off in the wrong. But anyway, that's where we start off. That's the beauty of a live reading, I guess. You know what I mean? You can't really take it back or edit nothing. So that clearly wasn't the first tweet that I meant to read. But anyway, we started there. So a Marcus Rashford move to Barcelona feels kind of unfair. Especially if you're not like a Rashford supporter, which I am not. I don't have anything against the dude, but you know what I mean? I think over the last 2 or 3 seasons, just watching him and losing that kind of, feeling that, you're watching a star boy, I think that's kind of ran dry over the past 2 seasons for some reason, for me at least. I think Marcus Rashford is one of these people that you expected to, at least by now at this stage of his career, you'd expect him to be like a legend in the Premier League, let alone his football club, his beloved Manchester United. But I would have expected him to be more so on the level of, if I were to compare him to anybody, I'd expect him to be comparable to let me shoot for the stars. I'll say it. I'd expect him to be like a Mbappe, like an English version of Mbappe. Obviously, his, the course of his career, it kind of hasn't taken him down that road. So, you know what I mean? I think that's where the disappointment comes. A tweet an hour ago, Transfer News Live read that is quoted as saying, Barcelona greatly appreciate Marcus Rashford's stance, who always held on to the hope of signing with Barcelona. Convincing the player was never an obstacle for the club. The source of that is something. I can't pronounce that goddamn name, bro. They say that Marcus Rashford to Barcelona is a here we go done. Loan deal with an option to buy. He will travel to Spain once the final details are finalized, and the source of that is Fabrizio Romano. And there's a cool little picture of Marcus in his sunglasses there. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is a case of a player who's on his 5th chance right now. You know what I mean? I think Marcus Rashford is infamous for outlasting every single manager he's had, and he's had a bunch of managers. some of which I don't even remember at this point, to be honest with you. But he's outlasted them all, during his time at Manchester United, and Ruben Amorim seems to be his kryptonite. You know what I mean? I guess Ruben looked at the numbers, he looked at the statistics, he was like, bro, I'm not about to be another, you know what I mean, notch on this guy's belt of managers, you know what I mean? I'm going to get rid of him before he eventually gets rid of me. But the caveat is Barcelona isn't buying Marcus Rashford, so they can't recoup anything. They just kind of have to take him off of Manchester United's hands, probably relieve Manchester United of some of the burden of paying his salary. There's an option to buy from what I see from these tweets and what I've heard from YouTube and stuff, but yeah, it's not like a permanent, like, nice deal where it's like, okay, he can go. He's still technically attached to Manchester United, but yeah, more than likely he'll spend the 2025-26 season as Barcelona. I don't even what is Barcelona's nicknames? You know how Marcus Rashford is a Red Devil, so what would be the Red Devil version of Barcelona? I don't know, you guys tell me. Carrying on with these tweets, Barcelona are interested in signing Rodrigo, this is something different, from Real Madrid as well as Rashford. The Catalan club have contacted intermediaries to inform them of their interest in the Brazilian. However, there's no ongoing discussion. Well, that's not Rashford news, but that's just something that came up because I guess the tweet had the word Rashford in it. Marcus Rashford is expected to undergo his Barcelona medical on Sunday or on Monday and have a presentation on Tuesday. Bro, this is actually mad, You know what I mean? I guess because this seems like it's a done deal, like the move is it's pretty much like it's just waiting to happen. If you reflect on the season that, Rashford's had. And by the way, I'm of the opinion that if Marcus Rashford stayed and hadn't went on his loan spell to Aston Villa during the winter transfer window, well, winter in Europe, summer here in the southern hemisphere where I am. If he had stayed and somehow managed to kind of compromise with Ruben Amorim, I do believe that Marcus Rashford would have been a help, or I'm of the opinion that he would have been like a benefit instead of a liability to Manchester United's to the rest of their campaign. He may have even been the difference maker during that Europa League final. As we saw, if anybody who watched that match will tell you that it wasn't so much that Tottenham were invincible or they were in form. It was just like Manchester United were playing so below their standards that even an average Spurs defensive performance was enough to kind of like, hold them at bay. I think like a Marcus Rashford, even Alejandro Garnacho, who I believe wasn't involved with the match for the majority of the game. Yeah, they definitely would have like, like goddamn been the difference, or in my opinion. I know me saying that is kind of flip-floppy from my earlier assessment of Marcus Rashford being or not being reliable, or over the past 2 seasons, and I don't know, not being reliable and stepping up to the plate when it matters most. I think even inconsistent players, if they have a history of brilliance or they're capable of doing some extraordinary things, I think when in the heat of the moment, or when the pressure is on, it's not impossible that they're, that they can like rise to the occasion. I think Marcus Rashford would have been that in that game, and in other than in Premier League matches and everything else they competed in. Yeah, so Marcus. As for what I think about his move, as for what I believe is gonna happen, he'll be playing alongside Yamal and them. I don't even know, guys. I'm not clued in on Barcelona or La Liga, affairs. I haven't heard anything about Lewandowski not featuring in Barcelona's squad next season, but I don't know. Something in my mind tells me that's gonna be unlikely. But if he doesn't feature, then who takes his place? Yeah, Marcus Rashford is going to Barcelona. I think he's expressed in the past that this is the move that he wanted. So it's kind of crazy that he and a lot of people would state, or it would be in a lot of people's opinion, that he isn't deserving of a move like this. You know what I mean? But he got the move, so it's incumbent on him to kind of like move, make the most of it. You know what I mean? I wonder how many goals or how useful he'll even be in that setup. Anyway, guys, you know what I mean? This is just like a ramble, like a quick little first video test thing. You know what I mean? I kind of want to see what it's like to go off the cuff instead of like preparing a script. So if you guys like the format, or if you even have any, suggestions on how to improve the format, let me know. Leave it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. You know what I mean? Like the video, and yeah, there'll be more stuff in the future. Thank you. See you around.